Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you guys all being here. What do we have in store today? We're talking about Swift, specifically the pilot and the rumor with strong speculation of them working on Linea. Now, in this video, I want to get into why that's such a big deal, why this will be a price mover. I'm at least very fucking sure about it if the deal fully goes through and they officially choose to run through things Linea. Let alone, I'm going to talk about the reasons why we could be building some confidence of that happening, and I'll just connect a few pieces, add a little bit of more detail in there as we go. So if you're not sure what Swift is, I'll give the brief thing, and I'll get them less brief, of it helps connect and talks to over 11,000 banks in 200 different countries. It does some of the back end work for it. We'll get into a little bit of what it is. But with that being said, I'll be crystal clear about a couple things really quick. Swift has not officially replaced its entire global payment rail with Linea yet, right? What's happening right now is just a pilot, an experimental project to test blockchain technology. Not at full scale by any means, but is live adoption with banks switching over to try to see how well does this work? Does it work well enough? And is this the direction we want to go? When they're piloting something, they're looking for something to work better than what they have now. So it does not mean they're going to choose Linea, but there's some strong reasons why to think. All right, one, Joe Lubin himself came out there, founder of Consensus, co-founder of Ethereum. We'll call him founder of Linea because there's no CEOs. He said Swift is going to run on Linea. Now, that is not saying that it will for sure. That's what a head of a company should say when there's a good chance of it and you want more attention for it. But he'll also look like a damn fool if it doesn't at least come close or doesn't come through. So that builds a lot of confidence for me. And now, before I get too much in the video, there's something else I want to say that someone commented down below in my other Linea videos. It came across very directly as FUD, but they weren't wrong. So I want to briefly touch on this one because I think that when there is FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt, or anything, like if there's something to talk about with it, I think that it should. So what they did is they mentioned that even if the Swift deal goes through, people don't seem to understand that Swift would go through Linea, the blockchain, not Linea, the coin, because the coin doesn't run the gas fees or any of that. They're not wrong. The insinuated then, things that they wasn't said, but when you say that, there's certain things that we can insinuate, I think, from it. If you read this and you're watching, feel free to elaborate more. Then it's saying that's not going to be a big deal for the Linea token. And that I disagree for two big reasons. And this is why, again, I think it's going to be a big deal when Swift hops in, is right, it uses the blockchain, not the token, but every time a transaction happens on the network, there's gas fees in Ethereum, and there's a little bit of leftover. And that leftover, 80% and 20%, gets used to buy Linea and Ethereum to burns it, which is going to make both of them more deflationary. It lowers how much active Linea is on chain on the market, and that will actually reduce to help increase the price overall. Let alone, it doesn't actually matter to an extent, at least short term, when something like this happens. If Swift says we're using Linea blockchain, people who know that Linea token is not directly used will hop in because it's a big deal. You have a large backing like this, and other people who have barely or never heard of Linea will hop in just because Swift hops in. Right? Do realize that as much as we say do your own research, know what you're investing into, people don't. They will follow a big guy because it's not usually a bad move unless you're late. Microsoft hops into a company, whether it's a crypto company or a stock company, I'm going to look, right? You hear Google is now into something. We're going to look, right? It doesn't matter if they use it or not. So I just wanted to clarify that one because that was a valid point, but it's going to be huge if Linea is picked by Swift, and let's get into why. So Swift, I will never remember acronyms, guys. FYI. So you'll get this once from me. The Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. All right, it's been the plumbing of a bunch of global financial systems for several decades. Right? It doesn't actually move money itself, but SWIFT will send messages between banks that trigger the payments. So they're the activator for payment processing. All right, its network touches over 11,000 banking institutions in over 200 countries, and it handles billions of dollars in instructions every single day. All right, that's a lot of money, that's a lot of data. SWIFT works today currently. It's pretty slow, like the cross-border payments take a couple of days. If you've ever done a wire transfer, you know it's not instantaneous. It's rather opaque, meaning once the messages are sent, but settlement finally or finality isn't instantaneous. Again, this system or the message gets sent, but then it takes a while for the response to occur. And then it's centralized, right? And that's one of the big reasons of bringing crypto into anything is to decentralize it. But because of these limitations, the idea of blockchain-based shared ledger that could handle messaging and settlement in one system becomes quite attractive to researchers and bank technologists. So this is where something like Linea comes in, which is what they're testing. Again, it's a layer 2 for Ethereum, if you weren't sure. It's that ZK for zero knowledge EVM model. So it batches a bunch of transactions on chain and then posts proofs on Ethereum. It helps with the security, helps with transaction speed. And honestly, Ethereum favors those type of layer 2s. Vitalik even came out and said so. Me and several others did videos on that one. If you're curious, put the information below. I'll put a link or I can give more details in more depth about it. It's designed for both DeFi use cases and institutional experimentation, so it's set pretty good for it. So when we're looking at this Swift pilot study, what actually is going on here? Right, so what is that? Swift is working with Consensus. Consensus is the parent company of Linea, Foxy, go Fox, and MetaMask. All right, and they're working together with more than a dozen global banks, including certain names like BNP, Paribas, BNY, several others, right? And the whole point is to test Linea for blockchain messaging and settlement flows, right? So they're testing a couple of different aspects in that narrow chain between on-chain messaging, right? It's replacing or augmenting today's message system with blockchain ledger. Really, we're just moving things from off-chain onto blockchain. Cool. Stablecoin or stablecoin-like settlement tokens, right? They're doing test implementations right now of settlement tools that might let value move closer to real time. Again, the instantaneous that we're looking for. And also interbank token transfers, right? And private ledger rules that are built on Ethereum compatible layer 2s. Okay. So again, this is just a pilot development and it's testing. It's not using live customer inflows, but it's a lot more than just a whiteboard idea, right? It's active engineering right now, and we are expecting to hear the results. Did it go well or not go well? Sometime by early mid-2026. That's the projection. There's been no official announcement, but the expectation is that the pilot study should end sometime mid-2026. So assuming this is going well and assuming that Swift goes ahead and picks up Linea, we should hear about it come around the end of Q2, beginning of Q3. So keep an eye on that. And companies will withhold information until it's a better suited time. So if we end up having a great market settlement, Bitcoin goes back up to 110, 115K, people believe in crypto once again, they might announce it a little sooner than planned, or vice versa. If Bitcoin starts dropping down a little bit lower, God, let's say we hit 59K or something, and Linea and Swift shake hands, they say they're in, they might wait. They might wait. Good news is always taken better when people are susceptible to good news. But now, why would Swift choose Linea? Like, what would the reason be? Why are they even looking at Linea to begin with? One, it really comes down to they want Ethereum, right? Ethereum, love it or hate it, it is the largest institutional blockchain. More institutions, more TVL goes through Ethereum than any other. This is why I don't understand FUD on Ethereum. I don't invest in Ethereum, FYI. I mean, I have some for transferring and gas fees, but I don't hodl it, right? I just don't understand how people think it's not going to go places. If you don't think it's ever going to hit 10 grand or something, okay, like I'm not going to argue that. I think it will, but I mean, point being, Ethereum's here. It's large, it's the most scalable blockchain out there, and that's why companies like it so much. They never have to worry about a project being too large for Ethereum. Now, Swift will look at layer 2s because then it's a little bit cheaper, it's a little bit faster, and it can niche a little bit more on one subsystem or subnet of Ethereum. So that's a big reason. The fact that Linea's got the ZK rollup structure to help send out batches of transactions, that helps to cut costs even more, and that's a bigger deal for it. So if Swift starts checking out any other layer 2s, it would be other ZK rollups that can batch things together, send it out versus individual messages, because you get charged for every message. So if you can batch them up in groups of 20 versus every one, it saves money long term for it, right? Privacy and compliance capability, that's another one too. The zero knowledge proofs, the ZK component of the layer 2, helps us hide sensitive data. We know security is a big fucking deal when it comes to crypto. It's why we're always worried about hacks, right? So the more secure the network can be when you're connecting to 11,000 banks or have the ability to connect to 11,000 banks, that's also a big deal. Now, just because it's a pilot doesn't mean that they have just small nobody banks, right? I mean, there's a couple of banking heavyweights reportedly participating in this, including the Bank of America, Citigroup, J.P. Morgan Chase, Toronto, Dominion Bank. And again, there's several others. There's about 30 or so institutions that are involved just in this pilot. Right? Again, it doesn't mean they're switching to blockchain, but at the very least, what it means is they've got some of the biggest, largest banks in the world that is now learning about this technology and testing it. So if for some reason, even if Swift does not jump in on Linea, that's 30 of the largest banks in the world that have now testing it, where they can decide if they're going to use it privately or not. Obviously, Swift coming in would be a bigger deal, but you're not going to tell me if the worst case is, oh boo-hoo, it's only Chase and Bank of America is now going to be using some aspect of Linea for stable coins or cross-border payments or something like that. I'm not going to be upset. Right, so I mean, the worst case is still very good in the situation. It's why you want to see crypto projects that are doing real world aspects, doing pilots. Get their information. It's testing, right? It's try this, try it before you buy, essentially. So many good reasons why Swift is using Linea for both parties. Now, to keep things a little bit more balanced, hopefully, is bullish scenario and bearish scenario, right? The bearish scenario is in a market that downturns, right? This pilot could stall a little bit. I don't think it's going to. We're a good part way through, but there's always the possibility. I think the bigger one is if regulation changes or something major gets passed with legislation that changes the way banking runs. Again, I'm not overly worried about this, but someone else pointed that out to me, and it is possible. But also Swift is right in the know with all that stuff. So if there ends up being the threat or thought of some sort of banking regulation legislation change, Swift would know about it, I think, at least. So that's not overly concerning. I guess the biggest negative thing is that they test out Linea and they say, no, it's not good enough. And then we have the question of, do they tell us why? And does the why matter? Or do they not tell us why? Because that might actually be worse. So we'll end up seeing down the road if they get chosen or not. But the bullish side of things is moves from pilot to full build, or even just partial build. Like, okay, we're going to be using 20%. We'll connect these couple hundred banks to Linea to get it started. Freaking awesome. That would move the price, at least short term, because it wouldn't be a utility yet, right? That would be the FOMO. That would be the hype of, oh shit, Swift is coming in on this blockchain. This crypto costs a half a penny or so each right now. Awesome. People will jump in for that one. And it'll go up, and if it goes up arbitrarily, not a prediction here, if it goes up 400% or so, people are going to sell for profits then too, right? So I mean, I wouldn't expect it to be an immediate long-term, immediate short-term price pump. Pretty confident on that one. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on this one. It would also help with the start of the integration of blockchain tech into the actual banking rails. There's a couple other crypto that are close, right? There's a couple that's building. XRP has some stuff going on. Quant has some stuff going on. Chainlink, Hbar, XLM. As soon as Swift comes in, that jump starts everything a little bit more. So if this becomes an official, expect there to be an initial hype pump, and then there'll be a cool off. There's always a cool off if things move more than roughly 40% in like a day or a couple of days. And then eventually when utility comes back or comes into play, then that's going to be the probably a quick jump and then a slow burn to the upside. So the thought of Swift coming into Linea, super bullish, possibilities, right? We're waiting for the announcement. So if this gets it, this is going to be huge. This is going to help bring more developers onto Linea also. Because realize you still have a very new layer 2. It's not even 2 years old. It's building developers. It's building a little bit of a personality, so to speak. It's got its liquidity pool. It's got its memes. But it needs to start getting some institutional demand. Swift will bring institutional demand. Plain and simple. So I'm excited to see how this one goes. What are your guys' thoughts? Have you been following what's going on with Swift and Linea? Do you own just Linea, or do you play it all in the ecosystem with anything from like their Rex to their memes like Foxy, anything else in there? Do you do any farming on their protocols to see if you can earn a few airdrops? Let me know, I'm curious. I will be here again soon talking about Linea, Quant, Hbar, everything else that I hold dear in my portfolio. And let me know what you guys think on all of that and beyond. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace.